Hundreds of unionized employees from Deaconess and Valley Hospitals have been picketing in a full one-day strike. They claim that staffing levels are making care at the hospitals unsafe for patients and nurses. But now the hospital says some of those workers shouldn't bother coming back to work tomorrow. They're being locked out. The union says its members will be ready to report for duty at 6 a.m. They're coming to work regardless. KREM 2's Mike Gonzalez live tonight at Valley Hospital with the latest. Mike.
Randy, some of these striking numbers, they have dwindled a little bit. You've been talking about the cold weather. It is absolutely chilly out here, but these folks still going strong. They're holding up these signs I'm going to show you right now. They say United for Quality Care, as well as putting patient care first. They think they can do that basically by higher staffing numbers. Well, I ran into a former employee who used to be a member of the union, then quit, who says all this union stuff is just a big waste of time. For Angela Kreger and dozens of SEIU members who brave the cold outside of Deaconess and Valley hospitals, the strike is not about them.
We're standing up for our patients. It's worth it.
But retired Deaconess employee Earl Moore, who worked at Deaconess Hospital for 30 years and retired about a year ago, felt so strongly about what the union's doing today, she came out to tell the media what she thought.
I have dealt with this specific union for quite a few years. Their tactics are not pleasing to me. I want no part of it. I do not believe that people should be forced to join a union.
Regardless of what side of the picket line you stood, Community Health Systems, who owns both hospitals, threw the first counterpunch, extending some temporary workers through Friday, but not going so far as to call it a lockout. Angela Kreger disagreed with that assessment.
It's a lockout to us, and we think it's outrageous that they would do that. That's again showing that the patient's care isn't their priority.
Kreger says, contrary to some reports, this strike is not about money, and regardless of what the hospital has planned, all striking employees plan on returning to work tomorrow morning.
Our contract states that agency nurses go home first. So we'll be here to work and they can go home.
As for Earl Moore, who was once herself an SEIU member then quit, it's about good patient care that can be accomplished without a union.
The union did nothing for me as an employee at Deaconess Hospital.
Now, Randy, there has been some confusion as to when some of these striking workers can go back to work, because you've got kind of two things in place. Out at Deaconess, they're all eligible to return tomorrow. Out here at the Valley, plainly put, some workers will be eligible to return tomorrow, some will be eligible to return Saturday, but what Sasha Wheeler tells me, she's the spokesman out here, she says, here's the key element, all of these workers are eligible to return at some time. There will be no staffing cuts as a result of this strike, and she wanted workers to know that may be watching tonight, if you are an employee out there and you do have a question mark as to when you have to return to work, just call your manager. Randy, back to you.
Mike, we heard that part of that dispute did have something to do with wages, that the union wanted a 5% pay hike. What's the deal on that?
Randy, you know, I spoke to some of my sources inside the union. What they told me is that the bargaining for all this started about a year ago, and yes, initially that 5% raise was on the table, but that simply put, it's part of the negotiation process anyway. What Community Health Systems, who owns these two hospitals out here, did, they countered with a 2% proposal, and union workers said they haven't talked about pay raises for months, so it's really not an issue right now. For them, it is all about staffing levels and patient care. As far as these folks go, they'll be out here till 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.